We also like confusing debate, whereby there are multiple paradigms on both sides of the house, and both sides of the house had like different angles of debate. But what good rose forgot to argue was arguing both paradigms with this debate and fulfill their burdens, also engage side government and side government and fulfill our burdens to engage them. What were the burdens in both sides of the house, and let's clarify that. Because we had two main burdens in this debate. Firstly, we told you there's a state interest to it, and that's our first angle to do it. But we told you two reasonings. Firstly, we told you in the interest of defense. Secondly, we told you in the interest of the police force. What our second burden was, however, was to you what necessarily war should head in direction to. Because we told you two extreme benefits on our side of the house. Firstly, we told you that it's to reduce collateral damage, which they obviously didn't understand and didn't respond to as well. Secondly, we also would empower smaller countries in this situation, and we proved to you the mutual exclusivity of this, which they didn't refuse to acknowledge. What was their burden, however, on the side of the house? They had two burdens. Firstly, ultimately they didn't say it explicitly, but they implied this ultimately at the end of the day. They implied they wanted the demilitarization of the world and the whole eradication of imbalance in status quo. But this isn't rebuttal, but this is pointing out the failure on the other side of the house. They really wanted to prove this, they needed to prove the trends, they needed to prove the effectivity, and they needed to prove the other alternatives in this situation. And I also pointed out that in my speech, that they needed to prove other alternatives to prove that this benefit isn't mutually exclusive. But however, they failed to do this because the only form of characterization we heard on their side wasn't really much different than status quo right now. Therefore, the whole demilitarization of the world, but they didn't really work out on their side because they didn't prove the necessary analysis that they needed to prove. And that's why we take this issue as well. But secondly, they also needed to show you mutually exclusive harms, and the DLO somewhat tried to do this. She told you two things, and I'll follow in my responses. Firstly, that the dictators abuse this certain thing. But what my brief already told you was that would you necessarily, is this a proper justification to obliterate weapons at all? Would you necessarily, for example, take guns away if you meant to stop Assad in this situation? They never answer those questions, especially coming up from opposition group. Because it was extremely problematic on their side when those harms really needed to connect to status quo because those characteristics shared the same principles. So therefore it wasn't mutually exclusive, and we proved that. But secondly, they also talked to you about fear. Because ultimately, we really responded on that as well on two levels. Firstly, that our mechanism already covers that situation. But my way also talked to you about how if it was nationalist in nature, people won't necessarily feel threatened by this anyway, as he compared it to things like guns and jets and any forms of standing armies that are available right now. So that form of fear doesn't exist status quo. We don't think what's the problem. That's why status quo worked on our side. But what are the big two questions at the end of the day and ultimately decided us? Firstly, can their harms be mitigated in this situation? Because in order to prove this burden, they needed to show you the difference between, in principle, superheroes and weapons. Because in order to do this, they needed to characterize the debate. What was the characteristic we heard on their side? Fear, power, imbalance. We told you it's shared by both weapons right now and weapons on their side of the house. We told you this is incoherent on their side of the house. But we also told you the second question, and why this is important, are our benefits mutually exclusive in our paradigm? And how we also prove this is through characterization as well. Because the side government puts to you a diverse plethora of different characteristics of human powers and how we principally extracted that and how it can be really applied into the real world situation right now, and how there is a comparative advantage compared to status quo, and therefore the whole characteristic took on our side of the house. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they needed to prove certain things, but they failed to do so. They needed to prove, in order to prove a certain trend and growing, in order their team stance, they needed to prove other certain things that proof within the status quo that things are necessarily getting better. We don't think so. We think the angle we took in this debate wasn't engaged on their side. But if you, Philippines, are under attack by China and you have the opportunity to do this, why not if it meant protecting your people? That's what we'll propose.